Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Here's your Friday winter storm vlog. We're still about 36 hours away from this getting going. So you've got all day to prepare, all day Saturday to prepare. It's really by Saturday night after midnight you need to get ready. By the time you wake up Sunday, things are going to be going full force. Now, let me talk about the latest, what's going on this morning. I know there's still so much focus on snow. I cannot emphasize this enough. Please, especially in the Piedmont, your focus should be on ice, not snow, okay? I know snow is great. I would love for this to all be snow, but I'm having a bad feeling about this ice situation. I'm going to tell you why. We can see our system right now. Here it is. It is developing over the Midwest, showing up quite nicely there, moving through parts of Minnesota, now moving into Iowa. That's the northern piece of energy. It's going to dive down here, and then this low right here is going to sync up with it, and it's going to become one massive low pressure cut off and do one of these. It's going to move up the coast like this. Now, that's the current thinking. Are there still wiggle room? Absolutely there is, because potentially if we get more ice, this would trend this direction slightly or be very close to where it is. But if it trends towards snow, we would see this track be further offshore and like that. That blue line is more of the snow track, but that's not what we're seeing right now. So let me show you a couple of things here first. We've got winter storm watches for everybody. Every single county in our area, central North Carolina, western North Carolina. Now, winter storm watches mean you're going to have a mix of rain, snow, sleet, or freezing rain, or all snow. If it was all ice, you would see ice storm warnings and watches and that kind of thing. But this is because it's a mix, it's going to be winter storm. So this can upgrade, though, to a winter weather advisory and a winter storm warning. This is very crucial because I always get this confusion. People think, oh, we're being downgraded. No, these are all upgrades, okay? Winter storm watch is a catch-all. That's where we start with any kind of winter weather product. Then it goes to an advisory, which is a little bit less severe, but still more than a watch, or it goes up to a winter storm warning. So both are technically upgrades. It's just a matter of amounts. So that's what that has to do with. So let's talk about the futurecast. All right, so let's get into the details of what's going on here. Not a lot of change in the guidance. I'll be honest with you. The only thing we've noticed is a slow trend, and it's been a trickle that I've been talking about for the last 2 days of more ice. And there's really nothing that has trended away from that. If anything, I'd say the trend has gone up for ice for the Piedmont. So here's our system. We go through tomorrow, or today I should say, into tonight. I'm going to stop this around tomorrow morning. So here's our low pressure system. You see it fully developed back to the west. At the same time, the other thing I'm watching is high pressure to the northeast. These isobars, or these blue lines, are kind of showing where the high pressure is going to wedge down the eastern slopes. And what you're going to look for here is you're going to look for these isobars to bend like this, kind of look like a U or a bunch of arrows pointing down the mountains like this. That's a sign of wedging going on. So if we go through time, you could see that wedging pattern taking place right there. That's cold air getting pushed into the Carolinas. Okay, so this is, going into tomorrow afternoon, 1:05. Could we see a little flurry action tomorrow afternoon? Certainly a possibility, but a lot of that's going to be virga. It's going to be a lot. Now, what I'm seeing here is as we go into the evening hours, the moisture starts moving in fairly quickly. And could start as a little bit of rain, but I think it's going to change to snow fairly quickly. I think the highest chance of snow is probably going to happen early on Sunday, before the moisture gets here. But you can see that wedge, and look at those isobars. See how tightly packed they are? That is a true sign of cold air damming. That is cold air just getting pushed in at the surface, though. Down here at ground level, above our heads, 10,000 feet, maybe 5 to 7,000 feet, I should really say, we're getting strong flow coming in this direction. That's warm air. That's overlapping the cold air. So that's a sleet ice setup. But where the cold air is the thickest, up here in the mountains and foothills, it stays intact. You can see the high pressure system right over Montreal, upstate New York. This is a perfect cold air, or what I would call textbook cold air damming event. The low pressure, if this low pressure, again, if this pressure would attract just a little bit further south to this direction, this would all be solid snow and probably heavy snow. And some of it will be in parts. So then we go into the morning hours. It's just a hot mess. I mean, this is all sleet, freezing rain, ice, snow in the mountains. And again, actually, it will be rain over here probably in a few spots. Warmer air gets pumped up the other side of the mountains there. You see that over Charlotte and areas south and east, a lot of pink. But at the very tail end, there might be a little burst of snow as the thing moves off to the north and the east, and it's out of here fairly quickly. So there hasn't been a lot of change in this setup. But I will tell you the one thing that's going to be interesting to watch today, and I think will set all this into motion and make things much more crystal clear, is the phasing of these two pieces of energy. I'm going to go back because this is going to be later tonight. You see that right there. That what happens to our west today. There's that piece of energy over North Texas. Here comes the northern branch. How do they interact and what do they do to our west? How does this thing come together to the west? Does it form a little farther south? Does it form a little farther north? That's going to be a big player in this. The one thing that I am very confident in, though, is this high pressure system. This is really cold air up here, folks. It is really, really cold up here. In fact, let me show you the current conditions across the United States. So here's the current conditions. So while we have temperatures in the 50s today, probably 40s tomorrow, look at the cold air reservoir to our north. This is the one thing that I think is locked in. So this cold air is not throughout the whole atmosphere, though. That's the problem. It's mainly going to be surface-based moving in here, and that's always an icy setup. So as we get into the details of what I think is going to happen, let's talk about the impacts, because I do think there'll be very, very extensive impacts on the roads in particular. Travel, not advised, Sunday into Monday. The secondary issue could be power outages. I'll talk about that in a minute. Everybody loves the snow map. Here is what I'm thinking. I actually just updated this slightly today, but generally 1 to 2 inches around Charlotte south with a trace to 1, 2 to 4, maybe northern Mecklenburg, north of 85. And again, this is sleet and snow combined, 4 to 6 northwest Piedmont. Then you get into the 6 to 12. In the mountains, there will be variations because unlike most events, this is going to have a southeasterly wind. And again, a southeast wind provides an upslope flow, which pumps into the mountains like this. So unlike those northwest flow events, which really sock in heavy snow along the Tennessee line, the eastern facing slopes here get the most snow. So think about Blowing Rock, areas like Jonas Ridge, upper Caldwell County, over towards Marion, Morganton, probably pretty close to that line, Lenore North. So that's an area to watch for potentially some pretty heavy snow in those areas. But this is my concern, the ice. I just can't get past the ice setup here. This is a really significant ice setup. And if this comes to fruition, if the track stays the same and everything goes according to what we're seeing right now, this potentially could be significant ice across a big chunk of not just the Piedmont, but the heart of the metro area where a lot of people live. So we're talking 1/4 of an inch or more, maybe 1/4 to a 1/2 an inch. 1/4 inch is that threshold that brings down trees and power lines. That's when we have enough weight on those surfaces to bring them down. So for that reason, I need you to plan for ice because the roads will be bad. The surface temperatures never get above freezing, and we could have power outages. So what's the timing of all this? I get this question quite a bit. Move my head a little bit out of the way here. You could see snow and sleet probably starting early Sunday morning. This is for everybody. Just for the mountains and foothills, this will be more snow than sleet. The freezing rain really cranks up into the morning hours. It becomes really heavy, I think, in the middle of the day. In fact, this is going to be quite extreme, I think, with icy conditions. And the roads, probably hazardous travel all day long. Honestly, you probably could stretch this out throughout the entire day. And scattered power outages, probably very likely in this setup. If we go to the mountains and foothills, this is the area I'm talking about, Interstate 40 North, 4 to 12 inches again. From south, 4 inches to 12 as you go up. Snow-covered roads. Again, pretty icy conditions across the whole region and some ice. The power outage issue, not as big a deal in the mountains and foothills. So we could see some with some wind and snow loading, but it's really more about the roads. And then down for the Piedmont, I'll move my head over here. You could see snow, not as big an issue, but there'll be some snow and sleet, snow and ice-packed roads, freezing rain, on ice, trees and power lines. So high significant impact there of possible power outages. So one of the things we'll be watching closely going through the weekend is the cold air. So I'm going to show you the cold air coming in. This is 7 a.m. We're at 28 degrees, but we're well into the 20s on Sunday. Into the afternoon, we get close to 30, 31, 32, and then it drops. So if we never get above freezing, that's a big problem. And one of the things I'll watch is the dew points. You're probably saying, right, what's the big deal with the dew points? Dew points that stay dry through this event, whoops, I might back it up, end up causing evaporative cooling. So let's go back to Sunday, 7 a.m. Dew points are in the 20s and teens. We'll go into the afternoon. They stay below zero. So that means there's still room for any precipitation falling to actually help cool down the atmosphere even more, and that sets the stage for potentially more ice. So this is a really icy setup. I cannot emphasize it enough. This is going to end up being our biggest issue across the Piedmont. And area-wide, everybody's going to have issues on the road. So I'm getting a lot of questions about, hey, Brad, should I cancel this, do that? I cannot make that decision for you. Your personal risk is different than my risk. I don't know all the parameters of what you're doing and what's going on, so I cannot make that decision for you. All I can tell you is this is what's going to happen. If you cannot travel in this, or this is a problem, then you should cancel. But that's totally up to you. It's not up to me. So make sure you're making these decisions based on good information, not from an app, not from somebody else. You assess the situation. If you don't feel comfortable, don't do it, okay? We have trouble driving in the rain here, honestly, folks. Let's be serious. This is even worse. So if you don't like driving in the rain, the dark, poor visibility, boy, this is going to be tenfold that. So I would highly caution not driving if you're not comfortable with any of that. Things will improve later early in the week. I think the afternoons we warm up above freezing, so we'll start thawing things out. But we'll probably have a freeze cycle every morning where we'll see black ice issues through the middle of the week. Of course, stay tuned for updates. This was a long one, but a lot to talk about. I'll do updates again tonight, and again tomorrow. We'll have you covered throughout the weekend.